Hello, everybody. Welcome to Millennial Think Tank. Tonight we're going to talk about, don't start me laughing already, Samantha. Tonight we're going to talk about imagined communities and the responsibility they have to each other. And when I first named this hangout, I got a lot of questions regarding what is an imagined community. So they're actually very real. They're just online communities that you count on. I think of Amazon and Uber and TripAdvisor and sites that you go to because you think that you can find dependable reviews that will impact your purchasing decisions. What happened is we were in our Collaborative Economy hangout, and Kieran, I'd love you to talk about the theory behind because you're the one who brought up imagined communities initially. So go ahead and tell us about, I'm forgetting his name now, Alderson, right? So go. You're muted, so I can't hear you.
All right, I'm unmuted now?
Yep.
Okay, well, I didn't really pay too much attention in all my sociology classes, but I did pay attention to this one bit. And there's this guy, Benedict Anderson, and he created this theory of how the spread of the vernacular language and print capitalism is what created this concept of nationality. And the way that this happened is all these people who were reading these newspapers were reading in the same language, and they were sharing this common identity with their countrymen, all over the place. And this developed into this sense of nationality that we all recognize to this day. For instance, I'm here in Pennsylvania, but all the way out, in Idaho, there's someone else. And I may not know that guy, but we're both Americans. And that's what an imagined community is. It's a group of people who associate with each other and acknowledge each other's presence and acknowledge their commonality, even though they don't really have direct interaction with those people on a daily basis. And this whole theory can be applied to marketing communities as well. Online, the term that they use is community of interest, okay? And you can go online and you can find all sorts of these communities. Grown men who are obsessed with little girls' ponies, cartoons. Bronies. These guys are a community of interest.
That's a real thing? Wait, that's a real thing?
Yeah. You don't know about this, Amy?
No, and my daughter has a pony, so I don't know if I want to. Okay, keep going.
You don't want to know.
Anyway, these guys are really creepy and weird. Anyway, then there's, Craigslist. That's a community of interest. People go on there, they post, things, and, sometimes they have hilarious, commentary, but they're trying to turn this imagined community into something real. And to me, when we were talking about Uber and all of these rideshare, ideas, to me, it's like taking this idea of an imagined community or a community of interest, where normally people have no vested interest to each other whatsoever, other than just sharing their ideas or making an exchange, and turning it into something that has more substantive value. A group of people who are bound by something more than just their commonality of interest, but rather, an actual community that is developing on behalf of their shared interest. And nothing, something that's less superficial, than people who know each other on a blog, but more concrete, like people who all participate in a marketing think tank, and, they actually know each other. They meet each other in real life, and this technology has allowed these imagined communities to turn into real communities, in the sense that you don't actually have to know a person to do things for that person and have a vested interest in their well-being and, supporting them. But it's this sort of imagined community that brings you together to create the real community.
Yep. All right, so stop now, because what I'm going to do is, real quick, I'm going to have everybody introduce themselves, and I'm going to go through some stats. And I'll come back to that too, Kieran, because I have some questions around some specific things you said. But Albert, do you want to start, who you are, where you are geographically, where you fall in the millennial spectrum, and what you do for a living?
Yeah, so hi, my name is Albert. I am living here in Orange County, California.
That's the first time you've said that on here? Oh, no, last time too. Okay.
I said that last time, yeah. And I work as a product marketing and communications manager at one of the largest distributors of technology on the planet. And I am in the, I guess, I'm 27 years old. So
Middle.
yeah,
Middle.
it's really weird not to say that I'm from Silicon Valley anymore, or that I live in Silicon Valley.
Does that make you sad?
No, not really. I've now stepped away from the madness going on over there, and I can take a very objective view at, I think, what it is that goes on, from rent to crazy tech people to all that stuff in between. And I think I'll take this vacation for a while.
Good. Good.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
Kelsey?
yeah.
Kelsey? Good.
Yeah.
Hi,
Yeah.
I'm Kelsey, and I am 26-year-old millennial. I'm a project manager at Palo Alto University, so I'm in Silicon Valley.
Where Albert just ran away from. And Kiernan?
I'm Kieran McGinnis. I live in Eastern Pennsylvania, Bethlehem Steel. I go to university. I'm English literature with a specialization in medieval studies.
Sorry, there's a dog outside barking. Okay, and we're missing Tiffany. I know, it might be a slightly crazy think tank tonight. So Samantha, you go.
So my name is Samantha. I'm 24, so I'm a younger millennial, and I live in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, which is basically the tundra compared to all of you. And I currently work in public interest research. You're muted, Amy.
I know. Sorry, slightly chaotic with the dog. All right. So I want to just give some stats, like I normally do, about some of the communities that are out there and the way people consume. So I was looking to see how many Amazon reviews have taken place, and it's not published anywhere. Because Amazon reviews are one of my favorite places to go for humor, but I actually go there for real. It's a mixture of hilarity and real genuine reviews. I did some research and found this post from Search Engine Land, which did a study last year. So what's happening, this is interesting to me, consumers are reading fewer reviews than they did before. They're reading them faster, they're feeling more confident, and they read on average 7 or fewer reviews before making purchase. By the time they get to reading a review, think about it. When you're reading a review, you're already in the buying cycle. You're getting much closer. So it's coming quicker between reading the review and purchase, which is a very big deal. And the other statistic: 79% of consumers trust online reviews as much as personal recommendations, word of mouth, which is a really big change from when online reviews first started. It was something like 20% in the early days. Nobody really trusted them. But I think the phenomenon that Kieran's talking about, where these real community or these imagined communities become real and really become connected, is meaning that online reviews are more important. So, okay, so my first question is, what are your most trusted communities? Where are the imagined communities that you participate in? I know I could answer for you, but Samantha, go first.
It definitely does a Sephora community, even though I've written about them because I love them so much. In particular, there's different hierarchies for how much money you spend, and the community that I'm part of, which is the VIB Rouge community, is very important to me. And then there's also like a subset of like Canadian VIB Rouges, and we kind of get together and we do like comparisons of like, when I first moved to Edmonton, I literally did a shout out on one of the boards to be like, which is the best one that I should shop at? Like, which gives me the best service? Which one has the best stuff? And people like literally gave a history of like the last 5 years at each of the 3 stores in my area and like which ones to go to.
Do you have people in that community that you don't trust? Are there fake people or?
Oh, there's a lot of people that come into elements of like class privilege that we like deal with. So someone's like, why wouldn't you spend like $600 on like a skincare regimen? And other people are like, because I can't afford $600 on a skincare regimen. Like, so it's like you can definitely tell who's for your bracket and kind of the things that you're looking for. So most of the people that I talk to, I do a lot of work with people who are like mixed race. So talking about skincare products that work for us. I do a lot of stuff with like lower millennials to upper millennials, and that's affordable stuff. So that's kind of usually the community.
So how does the community act to someone who is, you know, the classist or the person who's unaware, obviously, that, you know, how does it, is there not heckling, is there bullying or do you ostracize them ever? Does any of that happen?
Usually what happens, if we notice that someone's in a thread who probably shouldn't be in that thread, we'll like highlight other threads that they should be a part of. They also have much like Reddit, you can be upvoted or downvoted with your own personal profile, so you can be given hearts and then people get hearts removed. So like that's also something too, to be like, oh, this person like has a very low rating in this community, so like just kind of ignore them.
Huh. And was it like that in the beginning, that heart thing, or was that something Sephora?
Hearts have always been there. I don't think it was used to the same extent as it is now to like verify someone's like presence.
Okay, so tell me, Albert, because Albert initially thought he had not a lot to contribute to this topic, but with Uber, okay, so you use Uber, maybe you used Lyft last time, I don't know, since I was writing.
I might be using them again on Saturday to get from the airport to somewhere else, but
Lyft
because Samantha's here, I might just take Lyft instead, so that I think.
So here's the thing that I wanted to ask you, because you know we've had some fascinating discussions around Uber, and Albert was very honest in saying that perhaps millennials favor it so much because they see it as of millennials. You know, it's a young company founded by millennials.
Hip.
Yeah, and maybe if it was an older company, maybe millennials would be harder on it. So tell me though, so do you look at the reviews? Do you look at the drivers? Do you care, Albert, or do you just like, hey, I don't care, whoever shows up, I'm taking?
I haven't really thought of it that way. I just show up, whoever, you know, I just get in the car of whomever shows up, really. So and you know, and I'm gonna probably take an aside here and say, you know, that's definitely male privilege at work here, because as a male, you know, I'm not worried about, you know, getting assaulted. I'm not worried about being discriminated against because I'm female, or that, you know, somebody's going to make disparaging comments against me, because the odds of that are extremely low. And yeah, you know, I'm fully aware of that when I say this too, because it's true too. You know, I mean, like if I were a female, then yeah, you know, I would probably care about those things a heck of a lot more, because it's like, you know, you sit in a car of a stranger and then what the heck happens next, right? A lot of bad things could definitely happen.
So you don't read Uber reviews ever? You never look? Do you give any?
I take a cursory glance, and I generally rate all of my drivers to be fairly good, because that's what I've had so far. Yeah. I try to have a conversation with every one of my drivers, and like you wrote in a past Millennial Think Tank post, you know, I try to get to know their story of who they are, right? For example, the Brazilian guy that I took an Uber with to get back from lunch to go hit a meeting at work, and discovering that that guy, you know, was driving an Uber so that he could pay off his engagement ring. I mean, that's a pretty good reason to go give that guy not just a high rating, but also. Did you go write about that?
Did you go write about that in the community?
No, I don't participate in like a specific, you know, Uber community, because, I mean, for me at the end of the day, I need to get from point A to point B. What do I really need to write about?
So, well, okay, because I've never read.
Well, I would say that you do participate in that Uber community, and just the fact that you use that service makes you a part of that community of users of that service. And even right now, you're reporting to us, you know, what happened in that car at that time, you know, and I think that you would recognize yourself among other people as an Uber user, even though you might not necessarily be able to spot out every Uber user that you see, you know, in a certain place. It does give you something that concretely connects with a broader community, and all you need to do in order to make that community come to life is go into your mobile phone and search out an Uber driver, and they'll come pick you up. And instantly, you'll have this shared knowledge, and you'll have this shared interest in expanding the interest of Uber itself.
So I guess my question there is, what makes you Kelsey? So you use Lyft exclusively, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you participate in the reviews, right?
Right.
So I guess I guess this is my question about this. So Albert doesn't necessarily feel part of the community. He's just using the service, right? He ranks them, but whatever. He doesn't feel very committed. Kelsey, you feel very committed to the Lyft community, right? Like you're
I do, yeah. And one of the communities that I feel most connected to, and it's partially through my husband and I, because we feel really passionately about it, is the REI advisors community. REI just rolled out an invite-only advisor community for people that they selected REI members that had. Apparently, we spent enough money at REI last year.
I don't know what REI is. I'm totally ignorant. What is it?
Oh, recreational equipment. It's like a outdoor
Like kayaks,
equipment
stuff
store.
like that. Okay. Okay.
Everything: hiking, backpacking, cycling, skiing, snowboarding. Like go-to store for anyone that's going to go outdoors. And it's like, so what they did was they selected a few people that were members, and so we were selected to become advisors. And it's a closed community, but they take our advice into consideration when they're building their product selection. So we give like gear reviews, and that's a really, really, I think, big area of opportunity in the world of imagined communities, because while people have really specific needs, like I'm going ultralight backpacking and I need a camp stove that's under 1.3 pounds and can light for 3 days. Like someone might have some sort of need, and of course they're going to look to other people who have used that product before, similar to beauty products, I think. It's just this community hasn't been fleshed out enough yet. And especially
so how would you do that? And are you saying that there aren't enough reviews being given and people aren't? Because I would like to get to the core of what makes you become more active versus what Albert's doing, which is, I get it, he's participating, but not fully and thoroughly and not passionately. How would they do that? How would they flesh it out more? And what makes you want to be involved?
Well, I think what makes us want to be involved is that we really care about. We care about getting good reviews for us, so we put out good reviews for other people.
Feel a responsibility to put them out, right?
Exactly. And I think, so you talked about earlier the fact that people aren't using reviews as much, and I think REI is a really good example of why that may not be. So this is just my prediction, is because it's really easy to return products at REI. You can buy a sleeping bag, use it for a week, sweat in it and get nasty in it, and then bring it back and say, I didn't like this sleeping bag, and they'll take it back and give you a full refund. And so I think
there's low risk. So there's very low risk. But however, if you're purchasing a car, that's one of the purchases where I think people spend a lot of time doing research or requesting, and I don't know any, because I haven't bought a new car in so long, I don't know of those type of communities. I get, so how would REI make you, because they probably are successful because of that easy return policy, just like Zappos. Zappos built an industry, a company on ease of use. And how would they make you want to participate more in that community?
I think what REI has done to help increase the number of reviews on their website is they give away free products. We got a free ultralight North Face jacket, and that's brand awareness. We tweeted about it. We put it out, on it was a Christmas gift to my stepdad, and he told all of his friends about how much he liked his North Face jacket. And so we get to also demo products, and I think that's a huge thing about enabling communities as well.
So I had a question that I was going to do farther down the list then. So it's like you're an influencer. There's been a lot of talk in marketing circles about influencers. At what point does the fact that you're getting swag color your review?
I think you have to disclose it, because if you blog about something, I think you have to have. I don't know if there's any law responsibility, but bloggers really disclose.
Someone. So I have friends who write blogs who review products, and even though they disclose it, I wonder, do people take it as seriously if they know you're getting free product? And is that something you would think? If you say you're the reader, not the reviewer, does it color your opinion of the product, of the review, if you know they're getting paid or free things? Kelsey? Oh, she might have froze. All right, Samantha, you're jumping all over the place. I know you want to say something.
Well, I think that's one of the things that, because in the beauty community we get so many things for free, or there's so many things that do come in forms of rewards, that there has been quite a few like call-outs within the blog communities of like, you aren't disclosing properly, or you, even if you are disclosing, it's clear that you're getting specialer treatment than someone else. And yes, more special, not specialer. That's, yeah. I did it, and then I was like, I corrected myself. But it's like things like that too, and I think that's what I like so much about the Sephora community, is that I know that they bought it with their own money. I know that if they got the rewards were available for all of us. And I also know that even though Sephora has a fantastic reimbursement section, most people will say how long they had the product before they returned it or why they returned it. Like it's very like clear that that someone doesn't sit on a product for like a year or something like that and just like, oh, I never used it, so I returned it. It's not like that. It's more like, this one actually just didn't work with my face.
So Kelsey, I want to come back to you. So
I'm sorry, my internet went out.
That's okay. So Samantha was saying, you know, that she values the Sephora reviews because she knows they paid with their own money. Forget you as the person getting the free swag. Put yourself. Are you there? Or did you freeze again, Kelsey? You're
Hello?
there twice. That's okay. You can hear me. Yep, I can hear you. Did you hear me? What I want to ask is, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Put yourself as the buyer, the person reading the review, not the person doing it, not the person, sorry, getting the swag, right? You're just a consumer. Does it impact you at all to know that the reviewer was getting something for free?
So I think the difference between getting something for free and getting paid to do a blogger affiliation or being a paid influencer are way two different things. Because like Warby Parker has a influencer program where you get commission sales, and I view that very differently than getting free product. Because I think getting free product is a great way to get people involved with your brand. But if they're getting paid for it, that's way different. Then I would view that as different.
Do you think less of Warby Parker for having that commission sales program?
No, I think it's really smart of them. Like, I thinking of it from like a brand standpoint, I think it's smart. But thinking of it as a consumer standpoint, I think it could sway my decision to do like a Warby Parker glasses purchase.
Okay, Kiernan, jump in here. So unmute yourself. Yeah. So you were the first person who said like you would get more annoyed with the reviewers for not giving accurate reviews than you would with the brand. We were talking about Uber specifically. Like, I think about the responsibility shifting from the brand to disclose, because it's like we admit we don't trust brands, right? In the most part, so we expect the community to step up. What happens when they don't, and how does the community react when they don't? And go ahead.
This is a really interesting question to me from a marketing perspective, because these sorts of virtual communities have come to existence even outside of what the companies might have expected would happen.
Exactly, because with Sephora, Samantha said that kind of happened on its own in a way that the company wasn't expecting.
Yes, so, and the companies are all late adopters, of this sort of this sort of community. They didn't create the community. The community was already there, and now the best that they can do is sort of scrap together the interests that people already share among each other, and create a way that they can regulate and they can control that share of information to present their brand in a better light. But when it really comes down to it, most people aren't going to fall for the trap, and the disillusionment that even Amazon reviews aren't being regulated and information selected and censored to put certain products in a good light or bad light. It doesn't matter what kind of light it puts the product in, as long as it's attracting people to click on that link and share that brand. So I mean, I might be going off on some tangent here, But
No, it's good.
what I'm saying is a lot of times this idea of a virtual community gets criticized because people they're not really always so invested, in it, because it's not always so concrete. There's not always a real visible community. It's purely in the imagination.
Well, that's
But
why I want to get to what makes you vested and what makes you not vested, because there are communities that are much more vested, like the Sephora community, than maybe Amazon. I definitely don't connect with other reviewers in there in a way that I would inside of community. Like there are certain blogs where there are communities where you really connect to the other people and you get to know them, and that's actually how I met Joe Cardillo, is on a blog that we regularly. So what makes a difference? And then the second question is you just said, and I think you're totally right, that a lot of times these communities come up and the company tries to use them, and it's cobbling together what sort of grew on its own. So is it possible for a brand to build in a community that's useful, that you do feel vested in?
Well, this is the tricky thing, because, like I said, these communities come into existence on their own, and the best thing that companies can do is try to model the natural occurrence in their own format and try to have greater control over the share of information. But the problem is, what the motivating factor that brought these people together is this sort of skepticism of the company, and they want to actually talk about the product with each other. And this is just purely speaking in terms of products. I'm not talking about government or
No, I know. I'm just.
I don't want to get off on that, but
wait, I'm thinking of like when you talk about like building a community with intent like this, I think of Angie's List, right? Do you guys have any of you ever used Angie's List? You have, Albert?
No, I haven't.
I've seen commercials for it.
Well,
I have too. Yeah.
So that it's sort of that concept where we're going to build this community, we're going to vet the contractors in there, and then you're going to be able to read other reviews and hear. And when I went in there to use it, I just didn't find it. Felt very forced, and it felt like the company was trying to make me believe that these were organic and natural reviews, but they weren't, And so I'm trying to determine what makes you distrust. Okay, that's the question. What makes you distrust a community? What are those triggers that make you go, this is not authentic, right? Okay, Samantha, go.
So I was a part of another beauty community, of course, and we found that product reps had made profiles, and like we're starting to guise as like individuals in our community, and like we just systematically started outing every single one of them, and we all left, and it was like, how dare you think that we're that dumb that we don't know when someone is only talking about X type of product? Like I'm not. It baffles me the level of stupidity that these companies think that their customers have, and it's like, you weren't talking about anything that we're talking about. You clearly didn't, like, they'll spend time getting to know like some of the bigger people and then just drop everyone else, and that's not how you build a community.
All right, so Kieran, tell me the communities you participate in. Like, okay, let me ask you, is Yik Yak a community?
Yik Yak is a virtual community, but in the worst kind of way. It's like a playground for trolls, where you can just be completely anonymous and have no accountability whatsoever for anything that you're saying. It's like I don't know. It's like 4chan, in a mobile app, and it's everyone in your university.
So it's anonymity. I can never say that damn word. Does that impact how the community functions? Kelsey, in the Lyft community, does everyone have a nickname, or is it real names? Is it anonymous?
It's connected with your Facebook profile.
Yeah, so it has to be real. Facebook's been actually shutting down fake names and forcing people into their real names.
I also want to talk about Yelp too, because we're talking about like authentic.
Yes.
Yelp, I just set up our PAU Yelp account, and I always connect our Twitter account. I don't connect it to my email because if I get hit by a bus, I want people to be able to access these social media networks that they need to. And I tried to log in with like Palo Alto University at pau.com and then name myself Palo Alto University, and it shut my account down. No questions asked. It completely just said you are not an authentic person. You have to put in a manager's name. I needed to put in my phone number, my email address, and like I confirm.
And do you trust Yelp more because of it?
Yeah, I'm a huge Yelper. I almost was a Yelper elite last year, but not 2013, but not 2014. And I really, like, Yelp has steered me wrong like 2% of the time, and I think it's a great community for sharing food. I think everyone can agree with that, but
okay, so let me ask you this then, because I have a lot of clients, small business clients that are restaurateurs because I live in a tourist area. Tell me what you think of TripAdvisor versus Yelp.
TripAdvisor seems to be like a deeper community. We have a couple of friends that took off for a year, and they did their entire trip planned on TripAdvisor, and they did India, Taj Mahal, they did the base camp of Everest, and they did everything based on TripAdvisor, and they suggested it for us for a Patagonia trip as well.
Okay,
and we've never had a problem with it.
Okay, so Albert, do you use any of those? Like, if you're you're new, you moved to Orange County. Where are you getting your referrals when you want to go out for dinner and stuff like that? Are you going straight to your community of people, or are you using Yelp? I can't hear you. I don't know why.
So I am either going by way. You can't hear me at all?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you now.
Not a single bit? You can't hear me?
I can.
Hello? Oh.
I can hear you. Talk. All right. Darn it, because I wanted to know that. Kieran, since you're at college, now unmute yourself.
Do you see the way his face is frozen on there?
I know. So that always happens to me. So, Kieran, do you use any of those services, like review services like that for food and...
Yeah, I do. I definitely do. I mean, if I'm going to buy takeout, then it's going to be, $15 minimum, $3 delivery charge. I don't want to be getting crap, I want to be getting, the good pad Thai. There's 3 Thai places in town. I don't want that.
Okay, so which ones do you use?
I use the one that's got the highest Yelp rating.
No, I meant which network. I don't care what restaurant you ate at. Okay, so you use Yelp. Okay, here's something interesting. All of my clients that are restaurateurs down here, or people I know, hate TripAdvisor, hate its guts, because they say that they sell, they think they sell reviews, and they think they're disingenuous, and you have to pay to play. But from a consumer perspective, you guys all have positive things to say about it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a positive thing to say about it, but it's. We were talking about this earlier. This yet now I can't say it, Amy. You screwed me up. This anonymity, and
anonymity.
When it comes to something, like, if a cheesesteak is good or not, if you can't attribute your name to that, like, what kind of a person are you? We trust people who actually put their name out there. They have a real profile, a real face, a real picture. And they say, hey, these are good cheesesteaks, and there's no other motivator for them. It's not like they're being paid to say this, and it may be a little bit contrived being on this Yelp page, but this person went out there and said, hey, I spent this money at this place. I really enjoyed it. You guys might enjoy it too. And then other people go on there and they say the same thing. Or they say, I absolutely hated it. And you can go on there and look at real people who actually have a vested interest in the community where you are at, and they say, this is good, this is, and we can actually see those reviews, and they mean something. But then you go on other places, and it just seems like the way that they review things is completely arbitrary, and there's no accountability for the people who are making statements.
Give me communities that you don't trust or you can't rely on. Give me examples of what they are and why you don't. Samantha? Okay, Kieran, go.
Oh, well, I in particular, I don't trust Amazon reviews. I don't trust any sort of site that has its own platform, for setting up reviews. Because to me, how is it in your interest as a company to have complete, free, open, unregulated opinion, of people for any product, any given product, and there's no accountability on the people making these reviews? I would want to go on there and make sure that everything was positive, everything was in a good light, and that when people were going on and researching my product,
They
no,
allow bad reviews. What?
they do have some pretty crazy reviews on Amazon. I get it, and you can go on there and you can look up the sugar-free gummy bears, and it's hilarious. But to me, that's
You remember when
a marketing scheme.
Do you remember when Mitt Romney made the comment during the 2012 election about having binders of women, and then afterwards everyone went on Amazon and commented and left reviews about binders and talked about how they had their own binders of women? I mean, that's what kind of makes you not want to trust these reviews, because people turn something that, I mean, hey, if I need binders and I'm not going to use them to put women in, but rather to organize my life, and I'm going on Amazon and I'm seeing jokes about Mitt Romney, I mean, am I going to trust that? I mean, after all, at the end of the day, it is binders, right? Binders are like...
No, but it's a great point, because the famous one I remember was pink pens, and they were made for women. They were big. Yeah. And people went nuts. They were hysterical reviews about, I've been waiting for a feminine pen my entire life. And I mean, I thought it was so funny. I mean, sometimes I absolutely love Amazon reviews, but you're right. You know what? Does that impact it in a negative way, because you start to not take any of it seriously?
But these are low-cost things, right? Like a binder is going to cost me $5. A pack of pens is going to cost me $3. But what if, I wanted to buy like a car, and I went and I looked up, Honda Accord reviews, and everyone was trolling the internet about Honda and all this stuff, and I really need a car, but I'm not sure because, Joe 3567 from Pensacola, Florida, wants to make a really, really stupid joke, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay, that's it. Okay, yeah. Interesting. Kelsey. Okay. Oh, you're saying all sorts of things. Talk about Airbnb. You were talking about Airbnb, and they implemented a new feature. Tell us about that.
I was really surprised by that. I stayed in Lake Tahoe a couple weeks ago, and one of the toilet was wobbly. It felt like you might fall off of it, which can be concerning for an Airbnb guest. And I went to leave a review, because we always leave reviews. We believe in the community. It's built on reviews, and so it prompted me and said, "Do you want to leave a review that is private between you and your host?" So Airbnb has access to it, but I said, "Hey, I want to let you know your toilet was a little bit wobbly," and then I was able to leave a review that was completely stellar, because if I wasn't able to do that, I might have said something in that review and knocked off a star or something. Otherwise it was a 5-star stay. And she was so thankful, and I think on both the reviewer side and the host side, I think that's such a great tool to implement. Both, I think, for businesses to give them a chance. I think Yelp should be able to do this, because then someone could say, "Hey, I ate at this restaurant. This server's name was Tracy blah blah blah, and it was awful. I had a terrible experience, but the food was really great." So then they're just reviewing that food and sort of the more overall experience.
Yeah, that's a great idea. So the ability to confidentially communicate would help. Okay, and then
Kelsey, do people review Palo Alto University on Yelp, and do you guys take any stock into those reviews?
We do. I just opened up our Yelp page. We have like 3 reviews, I think. We also look at our Facebook reviews too. We monitor those pretty closely. And those are the only 2 channels that I'm taking. We have a 1-star on Glassdoor. I just double checked.
Okay, yeah. So tell me, you said you don't trust Glassdoor.
Yeah, I don't try, because I was looking at a few companies, smaller companies, and there was like a ton of 1-star reviews that said this is a worst place to work and gave some really valid reasons. And then there was like a ton of 5-star reviews that was like, "This is the best place to work. The CEO is fabulous. I love coming to work every day." And it's like obvious that those people, it was so polarized that it was obvious that those were prompted reviews. And I looked at a couple companies that had that same problem that are local to this area. And it's something that I just don't trust because it's so easy for employees to go on there and just write whatever they want.
Yeah, go look at the Chipotle one sometime, and you'll have fun. Because, okay, so Kieran, we were talking, I cut you off before, now I can't remember what it was. It was about distrusting a community and what makes you distrust the community. Did you say everything you had to say about that?
No, I didn't. I think that there are different types of communities and different forums that you will go to in order to get a certain background or perspective. To me, I think of, the two big online forums, for all the, nerds of the world. You have, 4chan and you have Reddit, and these are internet forums. They're like bare bones. Anybody can post on them anonymously about literally anything, and they're usually, tied into, video hosting websites or image hosting websites, and they're, hyperlinked to each other. And you can go on there, and there's no accountability for what anybody posts on there. It's complete anarchy.
Okay.
And yet there are some people who will go out there and they will say that I trust these opinions, these unprompted opinions of complete random strangers on the internet than I do, on, say, a news story on CNN or, a product review on Amazon, and there are some people who feel that way. But then on the other side, there are people who go on to a place like that and they'll be disgusted and repulsed, at this complete unregulated chaos, that the internet has the potential of being. And I think it all comes down to the individual consumer and what they're after. Are they after news? Are they after a product? What are they?
Does heavy moderation make you trust the brand less?
I mean, I think that there has to be a balance. There has to be a really hard to reach balance between not censoring the input and making sure that it's not just a bunch of trolls and shit. And that's why I think Yelp is pretty good, because they only have legitimate reviews on there, and they're not all good reviews. Some of them are pretty bad, some of them are pretty horrifying.
How do you know
they're relevant?
How do you know that they're only legitimate? How are you judging that?
Well, you can judge it based on how many people are actually going on there and making reviews. If you see 8 reviews and 4 of them are really good and 4 of them are really bad, then you can obviously come to this conclusion that someone's going on there.
The same one.
But if there's 50 or so reviews and they're all pretty consistent, then you can get a better picture of what you're actually dealing with. Okay,
so polarized triggers you to think that it's a setup, right?
Yeah, and I think that everybody has said that, already. Just echoing that sentiment.
Yeah.
But on the same note, I feel like I am not. I've got more of a value of my fellow consumers. I care about them more than I care about my personal relationship with the company. If I enjoy a product, it's not like I'm going to be, writing Sephora, oh, I really love your product, yada, yada, yada. I'm going to be reaching out to my community of people who enjoy that Sephora product. I'm saying, hey, this is really great. You should try this out. Oh, well, I tried that out. This blah, blah, blah.
Wait. Why would you not ever reach out to the brand?
Well, because I'm skeptical. It's like I don't want to go out there and give that brand, free advice. I don't want them to get my opinions unless they're paying me for it.
That's
and I'm not going to go out there and speak so passionately about a brand to the actual brand itself. I'm going to make them come to me, and I'm going to make them spy on me and see what I'm doing, because I'm not going to make it that easy for them.
All right, wait, Samantha, react to that. Did you agree?
I don't. Okay, so personally, I don't want to talk to Sephora ever. Like, the only time I talk to them is when I'm giving them negative stuff. Because honestly, as a corporation, I don't really like them. I think they treat the customers really awful. I think that they don't really care about Canadian service. I don't think there's There's a lot of things that I don't like, but I
You're
deal with it.
there because you like the products and because they're not made by Sephora, they're sold by Sephora, and you like the community.
Exactly. I don't buy Sephora products. If I get them, I like give them away because I hate them. And so like the legitimacy of my community is like if I'm going to talk to a Sephora rep, it's because I'm not getting the promotional emails. They've done something at a store that I need to out them about because it's awful, or because they've invited us in to like do some customer service management, and so they're having like a VP sit with 100 VIB Rouges to talk about how awful the VIB Rouge program is. But besides that, I have like no cares for the company.
All right, Kelsey, would you talk to Lyft? Do you agree with them basically because they're basically on the same page?
I would talk to the brand. I mean, REI, we volunteered to provide our feedback to that company. I mean, we had to apply to get into that, and it feels kind of like an exclusive community to us. And another brand that I want to talk about too is Polyvore. It's like
yeah, I know what it is. Yeah.
Okay. They actually invite some of their power users. I don't consider myself one, but they invited me to their HQ to talk to them about how I felt about their product. Just simply, what do you think about our product? We did beta testing on one of their new apps.
So you would give them feedback, but maybe not publicly?
Yeah, maybe not publicly, but I mean, on Twitter, I give feedback all the time to Twice, like my consignment online shopping website. I tweet to them probably once a week about how much I love what they have online.
You're a much nicer customer than Samantha is.
Yeah. But at the same time, if I do have a negative experience, like my husband and I had a problem with Inuit this weekend doing our taxes, and we were like livid on Twitter. We were very upset, and they were providing terrible customer service, and I mean, that I was negative about. So if I do have a negative experience, I'm mostly going to Twitter to tell people about it.
Okay. So Albert, would you ever tweet to a brand or talk to a brand, positive or negatively?
No, because it's a waste of time. I'll just go take my money elsewhere. It's easier that way.
Yeah, see, it's interesting. I recently...
Yeah.
What?
Sorry. Do you mind if I interrupt?
Let me just say, I love Southwest so flippin' much, and I hate every other airline that I almost always, every trip, have to tell them that I love them because there's no other airline that is as good as they are. And my cable company, I just wrote a post about this week about both of them, and I love both of those companies, and I regularly thank them, but I think it's because it's years and years and years of great service. All right, Kieran, what were you going to say?
The way I feel is if a company, if you're patronizing that company, you continually use their product and you buy from them, I mean, that's feedback enough, It's like, shit, you've already got my business. What else do you need?
They want your soul, Kieran, they want your soul.
Yeah, well, I know that, the man wants my soul, the machine. But I feel, from my perspective, I'm much more concerned about my fellow community members than I am about the product, because we're all kind of skeptical, of these companies. Remember, like a couple years back, they came out with that research about Target and how Target, just because of all their fancy contraptions in their store and their cameras and their sensors and their, tracking of customers, that they knew that this one teenage girl was pregnant before she revealed it to her own parents. Because that's how tuned in they are to consumer practices, and behavior. And I mean, we're skeptical of that, It's like the NSA too, We know they're spying in on us right now. They can go in there. They don't have any, they've got the authority to, look over the Constitution and spy on us for any arbitrary reason, and we know that. But we don't want to, in giving them any sort of credit is like coming to this conclusion that they know better than you, and that it's okay that they know more about me than my own family does, and I don't want to have that type of relationship with a company, or any sort of entity that's sort of governing, over me and coercing me into behaving a certain way, or being able to predict my behavior patterns and know when I'm going to do certain things. I mean, I think that's kind of weird and creepy. I think a lot of people are disillusioned by that. And that's why I think that this community, this imagined community, of people all over the world, for different interests or different professions, or even on a local level, being connected, via virtual communities, we have more trust in each other than we do on the overarching institutions that are dictating our behavior.
Okay. All right. Albert, what thing do you buy that you would read a review for, since you're the least like?
Probably something like a computer or something like that if I wasn't going to buy Apple. Well, what would I do? Wow. I think cars would probably be it, because I want some
Big purchase.
very, very specific things. Yeah, the bigger the purchase, the more I think I place a lot of stock in it. Like, restaurant, it's okay, whatever. Things like that. But
You use Yelp? That's what I was asking you when you got cut off. So you move there and you don't.
Oh yeah, I do use Yelp, and I also look at I not only do use Yelp, but I also ask locals. So I go to a lot of meetup groups and I check those out, and I talk to people and I ask locals, hey, what do you do for fun out here? So that kind of.
All right. So do you write any reviews on Yelp?
From time to time. I use an app called GoGoBot, which is really cool because I get like swag from them and all that stuff for writing a lot of reviews, taking a lot of photos and stuff like that. And I guess that's the one place that I'm an influencer at. I once, about 2 years ago, I did an influencer project for the Irvine Company, which, as you know, owns pretty much the city of Irvine out here, where they had an apartment complex up in the Bay Area, and they actually gave me an entire week to live there. And the whole point was take as many Instagram photos, blog about it, do all that, and get as many people to see the place. And so that's what I did for a week. I lived in an $1,800 apartment and pretty much did that.
So now that so you do that, but what do you trust other people on that site that are getting the same thing?
As far as apartments or what?
Yeah, like if somebody's getting something, and do you trust their reviews as much?
I've been very lucky as far as apartments are concerned, because the person I found out here in Orange County, I used roommates.com, and then the last time I did that, which was about 5 years ago, the person I found to live with, I actually found off Craigslist, and I ended up being roommates with him for 5 years. So I guess I maybe I'm the super exception there. I'm very fairly easygoing as far as a person to live with, and so I don't complain or do anything really of that much. I'm really thinking on the fly about what I really read reviews for. Wow, that is something.
I guess one of the things I'm thinking, listening to this, because you might not think you use a lot, but that is a lot right there. Do any of you know your parents' buying habits in this regard? Like Samantha, do your parents do this and go check reviews, or do they think you're insane?
They instilled it in me. My dad spent 2 months researching how Energy Star was better than one other type of energy secure thing. It took my dad 3 years to choose a geothermal company that he was okay with. I mean, this is just something that happens in our family. We're very used to it. They don't look at me like I'm insane, because they're like, yeah, okay.
Kelsey writes, "Oh my gosh, not mine." Okay, so tell me,
So my stepdad, he went to Best Buy. This is 5 years ago. He was sold. I could just see the dollar signs in the salesperson's eyes when he walks in. He was sold this top of the line receiver, surround sound. They got it all installed before even looking at a review of what kind of TV to get, what kind of sound system to get. I mean, that would have been weeks of reviews for me, and I think for millennials as well. Just stereotyping though, to make such a big purchase. He just walked in the store and just said, "I need a new TV," and walked out with a new DVR when DVRs were popular, and the whole kit and caboodle. And I just I could not do that at all, and they never look at
But
review.
I'm assuming he asked the salesperson a lot of questions, right?
I think he did, but not a lot. This is what I need. Outfit me with whatever I need, and then.
What if he's buying a car?
Well, that is another good example. I was test driving my Ford Escape in Minnesota, and then my stepdad started talking to my salesman when I was signing the papers, and they walked away with a Ford F-150 just because he liked the Ford Escape, and now they have a Ford F-150 in the garage. Like.
So, but it is interesting because there was a time when you went to the car dealership and you learned at the dealership and you went from dealership to dealership, and now you don't. You research it ahead of time thoroughly, and you know what you want and you kind of know what you want to pay for it, right? So they just haven't changed with the way other people purchase.
Absolutely not. And vacationing too. They just stay at which hotel gives them the best deal, and they fly in which airline that gives them the right time schedule and price, and that's it. Like they don't do any review sort of thing.
Well, so that's interesting. I definitely want to do a blended panel on this topic with some boomers and Gen Xers, because it's a very different. I mean, I feel safer buying things now because you can research. You know, as much as Kieran, you can go on about not trusting the corporations and not trusting marketers, you don't need to as much, right? Because you have these communities to turn to. I know I'm missing one of these communities that I forgot to ask about. But anyway, Kieran, do you have anything else you wanted to add? Since I've gone through all my questions, and I think I'm done 3 minutes early, which never happens.
Yeah, I mean, I think if I say anything else, I'm gonna have to pull out my tinfoil cap, from my closet over here, and give people a real perspective.
I didn't think you ever took this thing off.
Oh yeah. I mean, it just, I got long hair and it keeps it out of my face.
Well, what if I could? Oh, sorry, I'm gonna let Kieran finish here. I have one more thought too.
No, go ahead.
What if? Well, how about talking about, because you're in my jobs group, how about talking about job experiences and advice on interviews and things like that? Does that count in the area of imagined communities? We're not necessarily reviewing products, but we're reviewing.
I think your community is a perfect example, and that's why I wrote about it. That first community builder. Yeah, and when Kieran said the Millennial think tank, it is interesting because think about this. When we first started, which was how many months ago, nobody knew each other. I mean, I knew some of the people that came, but not all of them. And now I think there is a Millennial think tank community, right? And we'll go to that community and ask for things or ask questions. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, communities do not have to be giant to be relevant, right? Because I know that on your jobs board, how many people are in there now?
We have 3,650.
Wow. That's a lot, but it's nothing like the millions of people on Amazon. But for the people participating that are getting, referrals or heads up on jobs or career advice, it's incredibly powerful, right? So the imagined community, I mean, and I think about this the way brands could use them if they knew how to do it right. You don't need to be an enormous corporation to build a useful community, right? Anyway, all right, Kieran, anybody else? Last thoughts? We're done? Okay. Next week we are going back to Bitcoin, and I guess it's imagined currencies. So that'll be next.
Imagined currency.
I mean,
I don't know if it's imagined necessarily. It's pretty real.
Well, so are communities, though, and that's the reality, is that there's nothing imagined about these communities. I mean, it's just, I guess it's a way of describing these online things that exist, but they don't exist in your hand, right? You can't reach out and touch them. Anyway, we'll be doing that next Thursday, so I'm going to end, and you guys can hang on, and thanks everybody who watched.